welcome to Super Awesome News Show. I'm Amy.
And I'm George. In today's stories, a new crime wave is sweeping the country in the form of woolen graffiti. Scientists have invented an invisibility cloak. We'll help them find it. The latest in weather around the country. But first, a story that will turn your world upside down.
If you think the world is getting more and more topsy-turvy, it turns out you're right. Builders in Germany have built an upside-down house, and before you think they may have read the plans upside down, they did it on purpose. WakeUpNZ was built as a tourist attraction as well as being a comment on the state of the world. The house is 23 feet tall and rests on its roof and has steel beams in the attic. Inside the house there are beds screwed into the ceiling, upside down wardrobes, and upside down kitchen, and even an upturned bathroom, though it's not known if anyone has tried to have a bath in it or go to the toilet. Normally a house like this would take 3 weeks to build. This one took over 4 months because workers kept getting confused by strange angles of the walls. Many tourists visiting the house complain of feeling dizzy after just a few minutes inside. We now cross over to our reporter who is inside the house. How are you feeling, reporter?
Thanks, Amy. I'm here with the owner of the house, Kit, and I'm feeling a bit sick and a bit dizzy. So what made you decide to build this upside-down house?
Well, I like to eat my food upside down.
Thank you. What comment do you feel the house makes about the state of the world?
It's interesting and new.
What are some of the challenges of living in a house where everything is upside down?
Well, when you go to the toilet, sometimes there's a bit of splashback.
Fantastic. And how do you keep everything stuck to the ceiling?
Well, some things are screwed, but I buy quite a bit of blue tack as well.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Daniel for the Super Awesome News Show. Back to you, Amy, in the studio.
Thanks, Daniel. Even watching that makes me feel a little like vomiting. And now for a story that is truly out of sight. Look out, Harry Potter. The world of science is catching up to the world of magic. Scientists in Europe have created a 3D invisibility cloak, which can hide objects by bending light waves. It has been found that light can be controlled by using special tiny crystals that make objects disappear. So far, scientists have made small objects such as coins disappear, but hope that it won't be long before they are hiding cars, planes, and even people. People have always dreamed of making themselves invisible. One top scientist says that the possibilities are endless, and we are very excited. However, since inventing the invisibility cloak, the scientists have been having trouble finding it. As soon as we put it down somewhere, it just disappears. The inventor of the cloak said, "It appears they are having trouble finding other things too, like their lunch, which they think may be under the cloak." What will this invention actually be used for? Hoping to see through the reasons behind the invisibility cloak, here is our spot reporter Craig with more on this story.
Hello, I'm Craig, and with me is Alice, one of the scientists behind the invisibility cloak. Hi Alice, and thanks for joining us today.
Hello.
What made you want to invent an invisibility cloak?
Well, ever since I was little, I've always wanted to be invisible and pull pranks on my mum, so I decided to build one.
Cool. Can you show me how the invisibility cloak works?
Well, the funny thing is, it's working right now. Look behind you.
Oh, that is magnificent. When did you think of making this invisibility cloak?
Well, Well, when I was little, I drew up some sketches because my mum asked me what I would like to do when I'm older, and I said I'd like to be an inventor. So this was my first sketch that I ever had done, so I just made it.
Okay. Well, that makes things very clear. Thanks for joining us. Back to you, Bush, in the studio.
Thanks, Craig. And now, how's this for an interesting yarn? A new wave of graffiti crime is covering the country thanks to an underground gang known as the Midnight Knitters. This wool wave criminals are covering tree branches and lampposts with small jerseys and scarves under the cover of darkness. Police say the knitted activities of the gang are illegal because their woolly crimes are being done on public property without permission. The popularity of woolen graffiti is growing. More and more public objects are being wrapped.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Amy. I've been viewing some very new and strange art, designed and made. Thanks, Amy. I've been viewing some very new and strange art, designed and made by one of the members of the new Midnight Knitting Gang. I've met up with one of the members in this very top secret location in one of the streets of Wellington. Thank you for joining me, Emily. Now, what made you quit the paint and go into knitting?
Well, my gang and I decided to do something different, so we decided to do knitting instead.
Do you have a job or education?
Well, I work at McDonald's and we get free food to feed my family because we're poor.
Okay, very interesting. Do you legally get your wool supplied, or do you go and buy it normally?
Well, we go to the shops and buy it normally, like normal people do.
So all you do was really knit pictures and stuff and glue them onto the lampposts?
Pretty much, yes. And we do it at midnight.
Well, that is a very strong opinion, and I don't think anyone should criticise this gang. Back to you, Amy.
Thank you, Taryn, and good evening, New Zealand. Let's have a look at tomorrow's weather. Starting in the far north in Kaitaia, look out for some pretty flash flooding and raindrops as big as your head. If you're going outside, wear a hat. Moving down to Auckland, there'll be a mix of fair and unfair conditions, but those are just the conditions, and you'll just have to accept them. There'll be no weather at all for the Bay of Plenty. It is taking a short holiday, but is expected to be back in the weekend. Napier and Hastings will sometimes be changeable and sometimes not. We really have no idea what will happen there.
In the Taranaki, a mild depression brings with it a very dull day, with no highlights at all. It'll be overcast and gloomy all morning, but things should cheer up by the evening, so don't worry, everything will be fine. Wellington will have another capital day. There will be no wind at all, and the day's conditions will be so pleasant they'll actually be extreme. In the top of the South Island, Kaikoura can expect to have a good day, meeting friends for lunch, going for a swim and reading the newspaper, but try to stay indoors as the weather will be just terrible. A real mix for Christchurch, which will have some unreasonable rainfall, some sensible wind, moderate thunderstorms and some very angry snow. And in the lower south, Dunedin will be frosty, cold and unfriendly until late morning, when the sun will pop over for a visit. Everybody likes the sun. That's all from me. Remember, if it's raining outside, that's the weather for you. Good night, New Zealand. Now it's over to the news desk with lovely Miss Amy and the stunning, handsome George.
Thanks, Kristen and Holly. Well, that's all we have time for today. We hope you've enjoyed this evening's broadcast. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Until then, I'm George.
And I'm Amy Winehouse
For Super
Super Awesome News Show.
Bye!